Hi guys, I'm Shandy.
And I'm Manor.
And this is Ill Lit.
Ding, 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 ding.
Cool song.
Intro,
cool
logo,
all
situation,
the good stuff there.
Enticing
That's
marketing.
That's what we got going on right there.
Okay.
All right, cool. So Ill Lit is short for illustrated literature, and what we're going to be doing is every month we're going to be doing a cool book review, and then we're also going to be drawing something fun to go along with it. Mm-hmm. So we're focusing predominantly on YA books, which is interesting because I do not read YA.
And I only read YA with a sprinkle of adult fiction here and there.
I read YA when I was a YA. And I'm not such a YA anymore.
I'm not either, but my favorite thing about YA novels is that there's so much diversity and inclusion, and it's so much easier to find books about people that might look like you or are from your ethnic background, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like it's harder to do that with adult fiction books. It's a lot of the same types of characters and things like that. And so I like YA because it has so much representation, and it's usually done really well too, which is why we're talking about When Dimple Met Rishi today.
Yes.
And it's about two American Indian teenagers, and they're basically from polar opposites of each other. Dimple likes to code, and she's into technology and things like that, and Rishi is going to be an engineer, follow in his dad's footsteps to take over the family business one day. So they're completely opposite people. And they basically get sent to this convention or this program at a university for a couple weeks over the summer. And that's where they meet. And the kick is that Rishi and Dimple have been sort of put together for an arranged marriage kind of thing. But only Rishi knows.
And
Dimple does not know. And so that's kind of where things kick up and things like that.
Right.
And because we're talking about When Dimple Met Rishi and these Indian American teenagers, I thought to dress the part today. So I have decided to wear a really nice kurta that I stole from my mom.
We love it.
And it's funny because Dimple tends to wear a lot of kurtas with jeans, and it's like a very kind of casual, sort of westernized way of wearing South Asian clothing.
There's a picture of her on the back cover.
Yep.
I'm going to put that big right now. I'm going to edit that here. Okay.
And then, so she likes to wear it like that, and I think it's really cool. I think we should do that more often. So it's really cool to see that.
I feel like that also kind of sums up Dimple.
Yeah.
Really well.
Yeah.
I should probably say here that going forward there will be spoilers. So.
Yes.
We are going to be talking about the book, obviously.
Yes.
Because we read the book.
Please click off this video if you do not want spoilers. But if you don't care about spoilers,
we'd also like it if you kept listening to us.
Yeah. And I think you're right, because it's like it's like kind of describes Dimple in a nutshell. She's Indian and she's American. She kind of finds a way to fuse both of her cultures together, which I know can be really hard, especially if you are a first-generation child of immigrants situation like Dimple is. I know it can be hard to balance those things and try to find your place in two cultures and two worlds, basically. So I think that her wearing the kurta and the jeans is like the perfect mishmash of like her and her personality.
Right.
So
I should also probably say the ill part of Ill Lit, which is me doing an illustration over here while we talk about this.
Yes.
So I have a tablet here, and I'm working in Procreate, which I think is a fun, really accessible program. You don't have to work in Procreate. You can work in MS Paint, whatever you want to work on.
Yeah.
If you have Photoshop, or if you want to come to the library and use Photoshop, we have those applications available for you. So you can follow along with this tutorial and hopefully make something similar to what I'm going to be drawing today. So what I'm going to be drawing today is a cup of coffee, but it's splashing. It's
kind of spilling over.
It's spilling over a little bit.
And
I'm going to go ahead and start doing that. And you go ahead and tell me why I'm doing that.
Okay. So we do have our caffeinated beverages here with us today.
From a random coffee shop that we're not sponsored by.
Yeah, not at all. No sponsors in this video. Just two gals who love caffeine.
Two gals.
So Shandy's going to be drawing this sort of coffee cup being spilled over because when Dimple and Rishi meet at that college campus, it's SFSU? San Francisco State University. So when Dimple and Rishi meet at SFSU for this program that they're going to be doing in the summer.
Right.
Again, reminder that Rishi knows that he and Dimple have been sort of set up for like an arranged marriage situation, but Dimple does not.
Right, because Dimple is like super against it.
Yeah,
so, like,
she's
her
very...
parents are basically just totally hoodwinking her here. Like, nobody knows.
Yeah, you can go to
just
this
go.
thing.
Yeah,
have
we want
fun.
you to just be a smart kid. Go do the smart kid thing. You know, whatever.
And so Dimple is none the wiser. She has no idea this is going to happen. And so when Rishi walks up to her on campus, he like taps her on the shoulder and he says, "Hi, future wife. I can't wait for us to spend the rest of our lives together," as a joke. And Dimple, not knowing who he is or what he's talking about, promptly splashes her coffee on him because she doesn't know who she is. He's a stranger to her. And that seems like a normal response to me if someone came up and said that, you know?
I would think he was also a creep. Like, isn't that what she says? Like, she thinks he's like a weird creep or something like that?
Yeah, that's literally what she says.
Obviously, hello, future wife is, in the history of pickup lines,
not the best.
The worst.
Yeah, especially if you don't know the person and you're not with them.
Especially if you don't know anybody.
Yeah,
right.
It's a little weird.
Yeah, it's super weird.
So she kind of like splashes her coffee, dumps her coffee on him, and then she kind of just like runs away, and she's like, anyway, okay, I'm gonna go now.
Just gonna go live my life.
And then, you know, eventually they end up running into each other again, and he kind of explains himself and tells her that, you know, this was like a whole arranged marriage type of thing. My parents and your parents talked about it.
Because he, like, weirdly knows everything about her.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, hello, Dimple Shaw. Like,
here's
here's
your date of birth, your social security number.
And all of this other stuff. Yeah. Not weird at all. I didn't stalk you or anything.
Exactly.
Not stalk behavior.
And she knows nothing about him. So she's like, okay, why do you know all this information about me? And then so he goes on to explain that, you know, their parents talked and they're kind of like in cahoots about like putting them together in an arranged marriage situation. Right. And Dimple is absolutely furious because she doesn't want to get married anytime soon. She's only 17 or 18. And so is Rishi.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah.
For being 17 or 18.
Yeah, you still have the rest of your life ahead of you right now.
Right.
And Rishi is very like traditional, and he wants to get married, and he wants to you know, follow the culture and the traditions and, like, you know, have kids one day and, you know, take care of his parents in their old age and things like that. And Dimple's like, I am not ready for that. That's the last thing I'm thinking about right now. I want to code and live, breathe, love technology. So
do all the fun stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. And so
the normal kids do.
Yeah.
That this is like a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
Not that it's weird.
No.
But it's still
kind of sus.
It's a normal thing to want to be able to just go off to college and live your life and not worried about getting married.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so he kind of, you know, explains to her, like, hey, this is the situation. And rightfully so, Dimple is super upset, and she tries to call her parents, and she's super mad, and she asks Rishi, like, why aren't you mad?
And he's like, oh, I'm totally cool with this. Like,
yeah.
But he's like a hopeless romantic.
He's a hopeless romantic for sure.
He loves the idea of it. He's like, I'm here for the old ways. I'm here to... He's also, I think we should probably point this out, that he is also the first son.
Yes.
He's the oldest son of two.
Yes.
So I feel like, as being an older child myself, I feel like I have, like, a lot of responsibilities.
Yep.
I don't know how you feel. I know you're not the oldest.
Yeah, I'm the youngest, but I understand the oldest sibling mentality, especially being South Asian myself.
True.
Whether you're a boy or a girl or non-binary, we support everybody here. The oldest sibling usually has a lot of responsibility on them, especially growing up in these two cultures, to, you know, get married first and have kids and do all these things. And so Rishi feels like he has this sort of sense of responsibility that he has to do all these things, but he also wants them at the same time.
Yeah, he's kind of doing this thing where he's, like, denying himself what he, like, really wants.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
Because he does have these very strong traditional values. And that's
Yeah.
not to say that Dimple doesn't. I think as you go throughout the book, you do realize that Dimple does have these very strong values, but it's not...
They're on different timelines.
They're on different levels of acting on those ideas.
Yeah,
so it's not
exactly.
necessarily like, oh, I am going to deny myself everything that I want. Dimple's not about that.
Right.
She's like, no, I want to do what I want to do.
Right.
But she does feel a little bit guilty when she's like always yelling at her mom and stuff like that.
Right. And that's normal to, have fights with your mom and stuff like that. Because her mom tries to push Dimple to be very feminine, very girly girl, and Dimple's just not like that, and that's totally fine. And I think Dimple's an only child, if I'm not mistaken.
Dimple is? Yes.
So Dimple is an only child. And so I think even just being the oldest sibling versus just being an only child is also...
That is different, too.
A different set of expectations, because everything's kind of riding on you versus just one person, and then your younger sibling can kind of get away with more. Like, you're like Rishi is kind of the trial run.
Right, and then
he has the more like strict
brother,
thing. Yeah, Ashish's little brother gets
I can kind of get away with this because Rishi's got it covered. Yeah,
yeah, and that's literally what I totally relate to that, because that's how it happened with me and my sister. And my sister's older than me, and she's kind of the one that had like all the strict regulations and things on her. My parents were more strict with her, and they were much more lax with me.
I feel like I got both of it. I feel like I get both of them because I was an only child for 10 years.
That's true.
Because there's 10 years between my sister and I. So I was for 10 years, so I know what that only child mentality is. But then I also get... obviously I have a sister. So, I get that too. I'm obviously the oldest, so I get that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so...
Go for it.
One of the things I think we've already kind of talked about, Dimple seems to be like... I feel like every time I feel like I got Dimple figured out, she does something that's like, wait a second, that's not...
And surprises you a little bit.
Yeah, that's not in my... Yeah. That's not what I had for your character.
Yeah,
so I'm like, okay, so like she seems to be like super contemporary, but then they go on this little like Polaroid assignment.
Yes. So once
God.
So once they start the program, they have this teacher named Max, and he pairs them up. After this Polaroid assignment, right? After they take the pictures.
They get paired up, and then they have to go and take pictures.
Take pictures of like certain things or certain concepts
because they're quirky.
They're quirky and edgy, and they're not like other girls.
They're so different.
So they go around and they're taking these pictures.
Yeah.
And then, so what were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh, so obviously they go take these pictures, and they go to like this antique store, and they find all these cool things that this woman's found from her travels all around the world. And Dimple's like, oh, this is so cool. Like, I follow so many Instagram accounts that have like antique stuff, and I love antique stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't fit in with your
sort of vibe.
Anti-traditional, like super contemporary, like super techie vibe. So I'm like, I kind of appreciate that she put that in there. Because I'm like, gives you a little bit more depth of character.
Yeah.
But later on, they go to a party together because Dimple says, let's go to a party.
Yeah.
And up until that point, she seems super introverted. And Rishi seems to be the extrovert, which, as we know, the introvert-extrovert relationship works out great.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah.
And it's funny because I think she's trying to get Rishi out of his comfort zone too, because again, he's kind of like a very traditional, very straight and narrow type of character, and he doesn't really like do anything crazy or anything, and going to a party is kind of like the extent of that for him right now.
Right, yeah.
And when they go to the party, it's just like a whole different vibe, and like Rishi's the one that's freaking out because he's worried Dimple's gonna consume something that's not supposed to be consumed at their minor ages. Right.
Like, he's all like freaking out, and she's just like, lighten up. Like, it's okay. Just
it's
have
not
a good
big deal.
time.
Yeah.
And when would you ever be at a party as an introvert saying, lighten up, it's okay, just have a good time?
Literally never.
You wouldn't be at the party.
No, I would not be at the party. I would never go.
So that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's kind of interesting, because before that, they go to a really fun little dinner party with some popular kids.
In the same program as them.
Right.
And they are about as you would expect.
They're about as great as not.
Popular kids. Like, they really...
the dumbest thing I could have said.
They really live out the popular kid stereotypes. Like, they're rich, they're snooty, they think they're better than everybody. kind of thing that you see all the time in YA novels and movies and things like that.
They're not like other kids.
They're not like other kids. They are super quirky.
They're
and
so different.
really cool.
You don't know about that. They did say, like, the popular kids were kind of really rude.
Yeah, no, they were really mean.
And, like, the things that they said, and I'm like, I don't feel like I've ever heard a popular kid in real life
ever be that mean.
be that, like, blatantly rude to people. And maybe, you know, like, teenagers are different now because, as I said before, I'm not a YA.
Yeah,
but I don't
neither
feel
am
like
I.
that's the case.
Yeah.
I feel like it was very extreme.
Yeah, I think
feel
it
like
was
extreme.
amped up for the sake of the plot.
We love the
You know what I
drama.
mean? Which was totally fine.
Right.
It was just, like, interesting to see how the author decided to portray these popular kid characters.
Right.
And so Dimple's roommate in the book, Celia, ends up being partnered with some of those popular kids.
Yeah, and she kind of buys into it, too. She's kind of, like, here for it a little bit.
And actually, towards the end of the book, I think she mentioned something about, like, she shouldn't have ever hung out with them in the first place because they were so mean and, like, you know, made nasty comments and things like that. And she specifically had said it was like I was trying to have, like, a high school do-over.
Right.
Or something, because she
did.
wasn't popular in school, and so she thought this was her chance to kind of redeem that
Kind of
for
like
herself.
a bully who's been bullied before.
Yeah.
And instead of, like, taking that and saying, I don't want anybody else to go through that,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, this is what it's like. I like being on this side a lot better. Which, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't bully anybody.
Don't
ever.
bully anybody.
Yeah.
PSA.
PSA.
PSA from your friends Shandy and Menon.
Bullying is bad. Don't do it. Oh my God.
So they go to dinner with these people, and I just want to point out
Mm-hmm.
that Dimple did not realize that this was supposed to be a fancy dress.
Yes.
Nice, expensive restaurant.
She's literally dressed in, like, her kurta and jeans.
And like some sneakers or something
Yeah.
like that. I can't
Super
tell
casual.
you, I had a lot of secondhand embarrassment.
Oh my God,
Just
yes.
for that, because I
Yep.
know, especially like when you're young, but being underdressed in any situation is like the absolute worst.
It feels, and it's like you're even more of a target because you stick out because
Right.
of the fact that you're not dressed the same as everybody.
Right, of
So you
course.
stick out like a sore thumb.
Right, you do, and it's like
Yeah.
it's really
and
it's
even
not-
Rishi was dressed up a little bit, like he probably had on khakis and like a button down or something.
Right.
And he was like, oh, no, you'll be fine, it's fine. And so Celia was supposed to be there, but she was running late because she was hanging out with her grandma.
Right.
And so
nice.
Rishi and Dimple tried to make conversation with, what are their names? Evan and Hurry and Isabel.
Hurry, but not. It's not hurry.
It's not Hurry.
Harry.
He likes it to be pronounced Harry.
It's Harry.
Which
I can't really say anything because both of my names are pronounced weirdly.
Same.
So, like, of course, you get to decide however you pronounce your name.
True. And if
But-
you want to go the anglicized route, that's totally fine and up to you.
That's up to you. But do you have to be a jerk about it?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's like a gentle correction. You know what I mean?
be like, oh no, it's Harry.
yeah.
It's Harry. That's cool. Move
Right.
on. So yeah, they're weird.
So
they're really rude.
Yeah, and like Rishi and Dimple are kind of having a hard time trying to relate to them.
But Rishi actually like goes after them.
Oh yeah, he comes for their neck.
He does.
That's not
He's
what
actually-
I should say. Rishi really tries to like call them out for their
definitely
like
does.
really snooty behavior and stuff.
Yeah,
they make
he's
really
not
bad.
having
They
it.
make really mean comments about like Dimple and her appearance and like
Right.
their culture and
For
stuff.
no good reason.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah, and so Rishi kind of goes after them, even though Dimple's like, please don't, just leave it. Like, it's only going to make it worse. It's
Literally,
gonna egg
our
them.
relationship.
Yeah.
Like if somebody said anything to you, I would
Yeah.
be like, no, take a seat.
Yeah.
Because no.
Right.
But then you'd be over there like,
no,
please
it's
stop
fine.
saying things.
Just, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Please stop saying things.
Literally.
And I'm like, and this is the class. That's why I'm like, it's weird to me that Rishi is okay with like being so confronting in that type of situation, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because he should be.
Yeah.
But then
100%.
also like, so it feels like so out of place at a party.
Yeah.
Because it feels like those two things go hand in hand, like being like outgoing and extroverted and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I just found that really interesting.
Yeah.
That just different, the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And also that dinner scene that they have with Celia and, you know, her popular friend group or whatever.
Right.
it's a really fancy place, and Dimple didn't know it was a fancy restaurant, so she doesn't have enough money really to pay for, like, they said that the mac and cheese was like $42 or something.
Look,
if you don't get yourself a box of Kraft mac and cheese and call it a day, like, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I want to eat some $40 mac and cheese. I'm going to be real. I would love to eat some $40 mac and cheese.
I mean, like, how could you make it worth $40?
That's some good cheese.
Okay, that's fair.
Some good cheese.
That's fair.
I could spend an obscene amount of money on cheese.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I know you could too, because I know you like cheese. We love cheese.
We love cheese. But what's funny is that, like, she's like, okay, let me try to get the cheapest thing on the menu, like, because I know I can't really afford this. And Rishi's like, oh, well, let me, like, pay your bill for you. And she was like, no, don't do that. So, you know, they end up getting along a little bit. They're, like, kind of being friends at this point, and they're, like, you know, getting into the vibe together, which is great.
It's cool because Dimple is very slowly like, maybe I shouldn't have thrown my coffee on this guy.
Yeah.
He's also not unattractive.
Yeah, we call that character development.
It was a cute little meet cute.
Yeah.
And now there's some feelings happening here. So we're here for the feelings.
Yep.
So it took me a while to warm up to it because, like I said, this is not my genre, and there's a whole lot of, like, tucking their curls behind.
It's very, like, cliche type tropes and things like that.
There's some tropey stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's why in a nutshell for you.
It is. You're right. So I'm like, okay. But it finally got to the point where I liked the characters enough where I was like, okay, I can stop taking notes, and I'm actually interested in it. I think it was probably about the time where they started doing their little dance routine.
Yeah. Iconic. So basically, you know, they're going throughout the program. Dimple has this really cool app idea, and so Rishi and her get, of course, it's a YA novel. They get paired up to work together, and at first
he did request her though.
He did request her
because he thought that they would be
vibing
were both
together.
Into it.
Yeah.
They were both like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get married," and she was like, "No,
not this." Yeah, so he did specifically request her, but it was too late to change partners. And then he said that he would bow out of the program, and then, you know, they kind of like, something or another happens, they kind of start getting along, and so, you know, they're working on the app idea together. And Rishi is also very interested in comic book art. He's a really good artist, and Dimple finds that out once they start kind of getting to know each other more and hanging out more and stuff during the course of the program, which is really cute.
It is pretty cute.
And, you know, she sees that he's, like, super duper talented, and she thinks that he should pursue that professionally instead of trying to follow in his dad's footsteps and take over his company one day and go to MIT for engineering. And she's like, you should really do this.
Which he's totally not into. It's not in his heart. But what is in his heart, which is cute, maybe a little unrealistic for somebody who's 17, but cute, is that he's like, I want a wife and kids. I want a stable life. And I'm like, I'm glad that your, like, vision is so far ahead that you're like, I'm thinking about these things, but also when you're 17, I feel like you don't need to. I feel like everybody tells you need to be thinking about these things.
Right.
But that's what your 20s are for.
Yeah.
You got like a whole 10 years.
You got a whole decade.
To just kind of like fumble around and figure things out.
Yeah, you don't have to have everything figured out at 17 years old. Yeah, and it's working out great for us.
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
I like it.
I don't want to toot our own horns, but
I'm not doing that great.
Toot. Oh.
I'm just kidding. You were on board. You were on that train, and I just went and derailed it. So
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So, you know, they're hanging out, they're vibing, whatever.
Right.
And so they kind of start, like, liking each other, and then they kind of start, like, okay, like, maybe we should date a little bit.
Well, Rishi has always liked her.
Yes.
And Dimple is kind of like, this is a nice guy.
Yeah.
This is not the jerk that I threw my coffee on.
Yeah.
This is a nice guy.
Yeah. So she kind of starts developing feelings for him. They kind of start, like, dating, sort of, as much as you can in a program where, like, you, like...
Yeah, they do so many things that are not their schoolwork.
Okay, I noticed that, too. I realized that towards the end. I was like, wait a second. They, like, barely talk about the app that they're developing.
Right. They're doing so many other things besides their actual schoolwork. And I feel like when I was in school, I was doing...
Schoolwork only.
Schoolwork, right?
Schoolwork only vibes.
Or like schoolwork projects when we got pizza.
Yeah.
And then I was working in a group with people that I liked. You know, or something like that, you know.
Yeah, like
that's
this whole book,
time.
like the whole point of it was to be there for this app designing contest. and they like barely touch on it, which like I guess is fine because that's not usually really the big, like, the
it's
actual
not very
plot of the story.
It's not very interesting. I mean, maybe it is, but like I don't feel like I would read a book where I was like, and then they started using this code to create this thing.
Right.
I'm not going to read a book that's full of just like lines of code. Like,
no, we're not going to do all that.
So obviously I get it.
And of course it's for like a younger audience, so like they're not going to probably care as much unless you actually do like coding. So they really only touch on it when it's like kind of convenient.
Right.
Like when they're actually starting the design process, or Rishi's gonna draw kind of the concepts for the app because he's a comic book artist. And then we somehow get to this like talent show thing that they're doing.
Oh, it's great though. It's great.
And I don't understand exactly the relevance of the talent show, to be honest with you.
They want to have like well-rounded individuals.
Yes. Okay, so they're doing this talent show thing as a part of the program to become well-rounded individuals.
Right, because we can't have just strict science.
Right, you gotta be playful, you gotta show duality in your personality, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so Dimple, the smart girl that she is, realizes that there's a pattern for the winners in the talent show, and that for most of the years, in the years past that they've had the talent show, it's either someone who did a dance or was singing that won the talent show. So obviously they have a sort of bias or preference towards the arts, right? Because I know we're here for like kind of STEM reasons, but I think they're biased towards the arts.
For STEAM reasons.
We can be here for
throw the
yeah,
A in there.
exactly.
We like the A.
So Dimple decides that since she sees this pattern of them liking dances and songs and things like that,
and they're Indian.
So
what are they gonna do?
Bollywood dancing,
Duh.
of course.
That's what you have to do.
Absolutely. If we're talking about Indian American teenagers here.
That's the only thing that's available, because of course that's amazing, because Bollywood is the best.
Yeah, and it's so much, and it'll set them apart too because it's so different.
Right.
And it'll like give them an edge because of that too.
Edge.
And so they start to do this one song. And Dimple's kind of like, yeah, I kind of gave you all the dancing parts, Rishi, because I'm not a good dancer.
She's like really uncomfortable with dancing.
Yeah, and then we realize that Rishi's actually not a good dancer.
Can't dance at all. He cannot dance at all.
Not good at all. Like,
right.
So you think you can dance? I don't think so.
I love that she straight up kind of like tells him that too.
Yeah.
She's just kind of like, you actually can't dance. You lied. And he's like, I'm not that bad. And she's like, no, you're that bad.
Yeah, you're literally that bad. And so at this point, somehow in all of this, Rishi's little brother Ashish comes to the campus.
Because he's supposed to be like coming to check it out for like
sports
and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So he comes by to check out the campus, but he doesn't tell his parents that he was coming.
So of course, Rishi is like,
right,
how dare you? I'm driving you back.
And Dimple's kind of there just watching them be
like,
in this.
Is this what it's like to have siblings?
Yeah, like just watching their fight unravel, like, maybe I shouldn't be here right now? Like, should I go to the other room? Or, so that kind of happens. That kind of puts a halt on their, like, talent show dance thing that they were doing.
Except then Ashish is like, this is a totally wrong song for you.
Yeah.
This song is not what you guys should be doing because Rishi can't dance.
Yeah, literally he can't.
He does pick an easier song.
Yes.
I did watch the two because I was not familiar with them.
They are both good songs.
You should also go do them.
So the first one was called Dil Na Diya from Krish 2, which is fantastic.
Great song, great dance, but if you watch it, then you're like, there's no way.
Yeah, there's no way.
There's no way. No,
yeah.
He's not
and
the
second one they end up doing with Ashish's suggestion is Dance Pe Chance, which is a much more easier song for them to dance to.
I feel like I could have, like, if I spent enough time.
You could totally do it. Yeah.
Like
even I couldn't do the first one, you know what I mean? Like,
I know, yeah.
That's just
and you actually
unmatched.
have, like,
and I like doing Bollywood dancing for fun.
Yeah.
So, but like I couldn't do it. Like I could probably do it and it'd be like a 2 out of 10. But the second one, for sure, I could do like a solid 6 or 7 out of 10. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so they end up changing it because Ashish is like, Dimple's actually a really good dancer, so we're gonna give her the more parts. And she's like, no, don't do that. And Ashish is like, yes, girl, we're doing exactly that. So they end up like tweaking up their dance and stuff like that. Again, we're not really talking about the app at all.
Not at all.
let's say that Dimple's idea was to do this sort of health app because in the book her dad has diabetes, he forgets to take his medicine or go on walks to like regulate everything or whatever.
Or he just straight up just is like, I don't really care that much.
Right, and so she wants to create
That's
an
just
app
sometimes.
for people like her dad who have these types of conditions to kind of remind them, and then have a built-in sort of like game or like point system to kind of encourage you to check in with the app.
Right.
And, you know, make sure you're taking care of yourself and things like that.
Right.
And then like you can redeem the points at like a store or something like that, I believe is what they said in the book, like towards the beginning.
I think so, yeah. It
Yeah,
goes
so it
towards
incentivizes
something.
you to actually like check in, make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, taking care of yourself, all that kind of stuff. So that
It's
was
a cute little app idea.
Yeah,
like, it's not a
100%.
bad idea.
Yeah.
And then the idea also is that there are aliens, like, coming to get you. Right?
That was I think Celia's team.
No, because they did zombies.
Oh, I don't remember the aliens part.
Yeah, because that's what Rishi drew. Because it was like, you know, you have to stop the aliens from invading or something like that.
Yes, that was the game
So
aspect
it's
of
not
it.
only like it has incentives, but then there's like the negative aspect of it too, where you're trying to stop something from happening.
Yes.
Yes. So we've got both those there.
Yeah.
So, which is cool because they
Yeah.
were going to do zombies, and then Rishi, with his brilliant mind, was like, everybody does zombies. It's like,
We're not
Thank
like
you.
other girls. We're not like other girls.
we should see how many times I actually end up
doing
doing this little move here because I'm
Right.
just like,
That's the move.
not like other girls. So,
So they do the talent show.
right.
They win, right?
They win
They
the
win
talent
the talent show. And we forgot to mention that at the end of this program that they're doing, the whole point of this is that like whoever's app is the best idea gets to actually develop and market it and make
Right.
it into a real thing. And with the person who is Dimple's hero, and her name is Jenny Lint.
Yes, so they get to market and like actually get it ready for like market or whatever.
Yeah.
And really develop this app, and she's going to help them. The talent show will give them $1,000.
Yes.
To go towards
jumpstart.
to jumpstart and to go towards building their app for the final thing.
Yep.
Then we get to the end, and their idea does not win.
Right. So we're at the end of like the program or whatever, and they don't win, and it's actually the popular kids that we mentioned before,
The ones that are jerks.
the ones that are jerks. It's Celia, Evan, and Harry. Sorry, Harry.
And Isabel.
And Isabel.
Yeah.
And it's their idea, their app that wins, and it's a little bit of
They don't tell you anything about it except that it's called like what, drunk zombies.
yeah. And then we know nothing else about it.
That's all we know.
And then the only reason that they win is because Harry's dad donated money to like build a new wing in the school or
SFSU.
something
Yeah.
like that. And so they win, and it's like kind of crappy because obviously, you know, app development and all this stuff is like Dimple's dream.
Right.
And they worked so hard on it
Right.
that we know of.
Supposedly they worked really hard on it.
Allegedly, they worked really hard on this app.
They worked hard on it.
They worked so hard.
We're in the book somewhere.
Yeah.
It was explained that they worked hard on it. That's the sentiment that we get,
Yeah.
although we didn't read the lines of code.
No, we didn't
So.
read the lines of code. And so, you know, Dimple's kind of bummed and stuff. And
She's really bummed, and this is what threw me here,
Yeah.
because I felt like, so she goes to this thing where Rishi gets sick, and then
Yeah.
she's taking care of him, and then, like any good girlfriend might do, and then Celia comes up and is like, oh, you're being so domestic. And it kind of just like throws her whole world off a little bit.
She doesn't think she's like that.
Right, because she's like, I can't be, you know, cool, modern, independent, you know, app coder girl and domestic like my mom.
Right. Like those can't exist
they
together.
don't exist together. So
cohesively.
that bothers her. And then losing bothers her too, because she blames it almost on
herself.
Rishi.
Oh, okay.
Do you think she blames
I
it on
thought
herself?
she was blaming herself.
I felt like
kinda
she
what I
almost
got.
blamed it on herself. Well, maybe she blames it on the fact that she spent too much time with Rishi.
him.
Because there was obviously a whole lot of extracurricular things going on.
Yeah, and they were like romancing each other and whatnot.
Right, because she finally gets into it.
Right.
So, because he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So she kind of blames the fact that she spent all that. And I feel like out of nowhere, they break up.
They break up, and there's a little bit of self-sabotaging.
That's what you're telling
Dimple
me.
does. Yeah, earlier.
But she was doing it before that, because I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch what you caught.
Oh, her blaming Rishi?
Yeah, and like being domestic and stuff. I didn't catch that part. So we caught the opposite thing.
Okay, so what did you catch?
So there was this one point where they were out eating or something like that. And, you know, the program's coming to an end, and Rishi's like, you know, obviously we're going to have to go back to our respective hometowns, and then, like, we're going to college in the next school year.
And he's planning on going to MIT, and she's going to Stanford.
Yes.
Because we go to nice big schools.
We have big school money.
Big school money.
And so he's, you know, trying to sort of figure out how Dimple feels about doing long distance, and in some of those passages, it kind of, like the way Dimple was talking, you could kind of tell she was trying to sabotage the relationship so that they wouldn't have to do long distance for some reason.
I felt like she was almost hoping that he would say they could make it work.
Oh, see, I got the opposite vibe.
Maybe I just missed that, because I thought she was kind of like not wanting to admit that it wouldn't work, but then like wishful thinking maybe it would work. You know, like maybe, it's okay, this is gonna, if he says it'll work out, maybe it'll work out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, because like I feel like she was doing a lot of leading questions, like,
that's true.
Oh, well, do you think we can do it? I mean, people say it's really hard and blah blah blah.
Right.
So
and
I thought she was kind of leading him.
I thought she was looking for his like
be more certain, like, yes,
to be
this
like,
is fine.
It's okay, and
we're
like trying to like reassure her that it would work out.
And I thought she was going self-sabotage.
Because maybe she was then. Maybe she was, because then I just felt like the breakup just came out of nowhere, because it happens like this far into the book.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, I only have like maybe 10 pages left.
Yeah.
Like, how are we guys going to get back together?
It's like a weird
pages?
third act conflict or something.
And so
like that.
also I was worrying too, and this is where I stopped taking notes, because then I actually was into it, and I was
like,
starting
oh no,
to
what's going to happen?
And I was like, I've got 10 pages left.
Yeah.
And I'm exaggerating. It's more than that.
Yeah.
And I have only got like so many pages left,
Yeah.
and I don't want this to end with her thinking that she can't achieve her dreams and have a nice boyfriend. Or something that she also says too is that she felt like he was perfect, but that she met him too soon in her life.
Yeah.
And that made me sad, because I'm like, oh, if he's too perfect, like, what do you want to go like find some other people who are not so good? Which I feel like she realizes. She realizes that because like, you can go leave and like have other relationships, and it's not going to be as good.
Yeah.
But then you'll always end up with like that one that got away.
Right.
And you'll be upset about that.
Yeah. And Rishi would definitely be that one for her.
Right. Yeah.
And I think. Yeah, so for me, I thought she was self-sabotaging, because I thought she didn't want to do long distance. And maybe it was because of the fact that they lost, and maybe she blamed herself. Maybe she was like, I spent too much time with him, and I ruined my own chances. I was trying to be the best.
Definitely going through it, yeah. Especially because her dad does say at the beginning, all right, if you're not going to marry Rishi, like, win the whole thing, win the game,
win the program, and the competition,
win the program. And so she's feeling very much so like she owes it to her dad, because she does care about what he thinks of her. So I get that. Yeah. Okay, so you have 2 questions.
Yeah, let's jump into those.
They do get back together. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's a YA novel.
It's a YA novel. They have to get back together. It's super cute. It's really cheesy.
Yeah.
You should read it. What are our discussion questions?
I have one here, which I feel like we kind of touched on a little bit, but consider how Dimple fears her life won't go according to her plan on page 343, and so she wants to break up with Rishi, in contrast to how she denounces Rishi's letting his family dictate how his life will go, page 351. Are these sentiments contradictory or compatible? Explain.
Okay, she does say that he is spending a lot of time letting his parents dictate, because he doesn't want to go to MIT. He doesn't want to go to engineering.
He doesn't. He really has a passion for doing comic book art, and Dimple tries to push him in that direction. They go to like a little Comic-Con. He meets one of these artists that he's been a fan of since he was a
kid. Watching all his YouTube channels and stuff. But she does, I think the whole point of this book is that it is possible to pursue a romantic relationship with another person, and for both of you to be completely different individuals with your own individualistic dreams and goals. And if you actually care about that other person, then you're going to push each other for those goals.
Yeah.
You're not going to hold them back.
No, you're going to just support and support and support.
And that's what Dimple starts out thinking, is that I'm going to be held back if I have, baggage.
Yeah.
Or whatever when I'm going to
And
school.
then she goes out of her way to actually email Rishi's hero that they meet at Little Comic-Con. She manages to like sneak some pictures of his sketch pad while he's arguing with his brother or something.
Right.
And she emails him and she's like, "Hey, we met you. Here are some pictures of his stuff. Like you're like his idol, blah, blah, blah.
His stuff obviously is good enough and the world needs to see it.
Yeah.
So like this is important.
And so because she knows that Rishi's not going to do that on his own. And he's just going to keep it as a hobby instead of really trying to pursue it as a career.
Or not even, because he does talk about how it's so consuming for him that he can't even just have it as just a hobby.
Yeah, that's true.
That he was going to basically just give up altogether.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So and then it's funny because Dimple's trying to help him and push him in that aspect, but then Rishi's trying to push Dimple by trying to help her with her app. And so they're kind of doing the same thing.
They are doing the same thing for each other.
But Dimple does it in a more sneaky way without really talking to Rishi. And so when he finds out, he's like, why would you do that?
It contributes to why they break up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why we kind of come back to like Rishi's only following what his parents want him to do and letting them kind of dictate his life versus just him doing what he wants to do. And just follow his passion or whatever it might be. If it like whatever, even if being a comic book artist might not give you as much money as like working for your dad's bajillion-dollar company or whatever.
Right, but like which one are you going to be happy doing?
Yeah, like you're going to be miserable and make a lot of money, or be happy and not make as much money. Like I'd rather be happy.
Follow your dreams.
Yeah, follow your dreams, kids. The more you know.
Look, we went to the same camera at the same time. I'm so proud of us.
So talented.
We're good at this.
We're like actresses or something.
Oh my God, let me take my earbud. One more time. For the camera.
So I think it's funny because I think the difference is that Dimple's plan is Dimple's plan. She wants this for herself. She's like, I want this.
Right. This
and
is
I'm
for
going to
me.
do this. Rishi's like, my parents told me to do this. So I'm going to do what they say. So I think that's why it's different, because Dimple actually wants this, like her path for herself, versus Rishi just doing what his parents want him to make them happy. Right. And fulfilling that first child role.
Right, because she can see that it's not actually making him happy.
Right.
Aside from the fact that he does actually really like Dimple.
Yeah. That's the only thing.
That's the only thing. But like aside from that, it's not like the going to MIT, the being an engineer, the being just like his dad, that's not going to make him happy.
Right.
And I feel like another thing that maybe isn't so blatant here that I'm just now maybe picking up on. Their parents, both of their parents, sacrificed a lot.
Yeah.
To make sure that their kids
have a good future,
have a good life,
and I think that's that's like a 100% like child of an immigrant, first generation vibe for sure.
Both of and they talk about it very briefly, both of them, but both of their parents struggled coming
and
made
to this country
some like really tough changes and decisions to do this, and I feel like it's a disservice to their parents to just like go with the status quo or do whatever, you know, when they clearly wanted a future that would make their children happy, even if even if her mom is not necessarily like, straight up like, oh yeah, do whatever you want, like
and it also kind of plays into the South Asian stereotype that you either need to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, which Rishi's going to MIT for engineering.
Right.
Dimple's already in STEM, which is, I guess,
kind of
about
close.
The same.
It's close.
And I think a lot of child of immigrants, especially South Asian immigrants, can relate to that, because I got the same spiel, too, when I was younger and about to go to college. And I knew that those areas wouldn't make me happy, and that even in school, those types of subjects weren't my strong suit either. And so I ended up pursuing English because that was the only class I actually liked and I thought I was good at.
Right.
And so now we're here, and now I work in a library, and it all just kind of comes
And
full
it's
circle.
perfect. See, we're back on that train. Choo
Yeah,
choo.
choo.
We're back there.
And
back on the
now
rails.
I'm glad I work here. So, like, I would be miserable if I was probably still in med school.
Oh, yeah.
You know, probably being like a business major. That was not the life for me. I know that would not have been, and I would have been miserable if I did it, but I did what I'd like to do instead. And yeah, I don't make as much money, but at least I'm happy with what I'm doing.
Right.
Like, I don't think about
it.
wanting to leave my job or something. Like, I like being here.
Right, of course.
Anyway.
What's the next question?
The next question is, Dimple and Rishi view their heritage in different ways at the beginning of the novel, especially on pages 113 and 114. How are their views different? What do you think of their opinions? Can you relate to either?
What are pages?
Just
Okay.
saying.
So
But we can kind of, we've touched on this a little bit.
We have talked about this a good bit about
Yeah.
how they do and they don't.
Yeah.
They do, like, Rishi is very much so, like, I am
Traditionalist.
Indian. I am
American,
This is my culture. I'm going to let people know about it. Whereas Dimple is more like, I am American, like, 'cause this is where I was born. And yes, I do have this heritage here. But it seems to just be so much more of a prevalent part of
Rishi's life than Dimple's.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think Rishi's very prideful in his heritage.
He's also not afraid to show it.
Yeah, 100%.
He's like gonna let everybody know.
And I
about
think
it.
I relate to Rishi on that aspect too, because obviously
because you should, because like
Right.
it's fantastic. It's
Right.
awesome. Like tell everybody about it.
You know, obviously I came dressed the part and stuff like that.
Love it.
And I think it's important to put it out there, and that way our experiences and the representation of South Asian American kids or people is more normalized.
Right.
Because we exist, we're here.
You're here.
You know, there's of course everybody's
like
gonna
when
be
you
different.
tell me things.
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
I've made her like listen to Bollywood music.
It's great.
She loves eating Pakistani food.
So good.
We're gonna probably watch a Bollywood movie at one point in time.
We're gonna get done with this.
Yeah.
When we get done with this.
We're gonna watch it right after.
Yep.
And like I love being able to share my culture and how I grew up with my more Americanized friends, even though I was born in America.
I just like being able to learn something different.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
And I'm always willing to learn new things about different people and their culture and whatever it might be, because this world is literally so diverse.
That's what it's here for.
You know?
That's why. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to just pay attention to just like one thing. 'Cause
Right.
then you just don't get.
And then you stay in that bubble.
It's not fun.
And if you don't go
like the
outside
bubble.
of that bubble,
The bubble is boring.
the bubble is so boring.
Let's be real.
Pop that bubble, kids. Pop that bubble.
Pop that bubble. Okay.
And I think the whole point of diversity and having different people be from different places is so that it's like a real life learning example instead of reading about, like you could read, and I highly encourage to read about all kinds of people in all different walks of life, because that can help whether it's fiction or not. But going and talking to those people
Right.
is going to be so much more meaningful. And then you're just going to have like the text that you've read kind of back up like what you were told in person. You know what I mean?
Right. I do want to just go ahead and say, like, now that we've answered our questions, we've gone through the whole book. I finished my drawing.
Yep.
So,
And it's a really good one.
it is all right.
No, it's great. Don't talk about yourself like that.
I don't want to be like claiming to be Rishi or anything like that.
She basically created graphic design,
You're
and it's
so
her
nice.
passion.
So yeah, drew this. If you like it, maybe draw along or something like that, and then show us what you did in the comments.
For sure.
If you want us to review a specific book, a YA book,
Yeah.
let us know and we'll give it a
Absolutely.
read.
Yeah, 100%.
And then we will see you hopefully next month, and we will read another book.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
Bye.